Okay, this is going to be a really weird comparison, but stick with me. In the video game series Resident Evil, you've got to kill some zombies when you walk into the rooms, and you'll shoot them a couple of times, and finally they fall down. You'll collect the items you need to gather in that room and you leave. Then, if you go back into that room, say 5 minutes later, those zombies will start to get back up again. That is how I feel about Angelo Weber's Cinderella. I have made my feelings on this show very well known, and my feelings of the controversies very well known, and I was hoping that I would never have to speak about this show again. But surprise, surprise, it's back. If you somehow missed the timeline of this show, let me walk you through it very quickly. In 2019, they announced that Angelo Weber's Cinderella would be going to the West End in April 2020. Obviously, that didn't happen, and we know what actually went down. And during the lockdowns of 2020, Angelo Weber was fighting for theatres to reopen, mainly because he had a show lined up to go into one of these theatres. Would he have been as active as he was if he didn't have a show lined up? I don't know. Things start to reopen, and Angelo Weber finally gets to open his Cinderella, and then lockdowns happen again because COVID cases rise and things shut down, things reopen, and then there's more threats of lockdowns, and Angelo Weber pulls Cinderella for about 3 months, even though they never get the official word from the government that they will have to close. And then things truly go down in 2022. They announce an extension to the show. They start casting for a brand new cast. However, very suddenly, they announce that the show is closing. And on this day, we also find out that the cast find out via social media, because they didn't get the usual 2 weeks notice that a cast will generally get when a show announces its closing. So the current cast and the cast that are about to come in find out that they've been sacked via social media. Angelo Weber describes the entire show on closing night via a letter, didn't even bother showing up, as a costly mistake. And that was that. The show closed, and we were hoping that we would never have to hear of it again. It left a sour taste in everyone's mouths. However, like the cockroach you can't quite smash with the heel of your boot, it's back again. Outside the Imperial Theatre this week, Angelo Weber announced that Cinderella will be retitled to Bad Cinderella. I mean, at least he's leaning into it. And will be opening on Broadway February next year. Speaking on the thing, Angelo Weber said, "I'm thrilled and delighted that we are bringing Bad Cinderella to the Imperial Theatre. We have been working hard on a few new songs for our Broadway opening, and with such a brilliant team led by the spectacular Linetti, I know this is going to be really special." They had also announced that Linetti Ganal will be playing the role of Cinderella, and she had to say this: "I've been dreaming about originating a leading role on Broadway for just about my entire life, but never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine achieving that dream alongside Angelo Weber and such an incredible team of collaborators. As a proud Dominican American, I am most excited about this opportunity to represent my community and show the world that fairy tales do come true and are for everybody. My heart is bursting." And producer Christine Schwartzman said, "We are honoured to be introducing this modern Cinderella story to Broadway, and it is a dream come true to work with Angelo Weber, especially on a score that sits among his very best." Is that the one that they're bringing to Broadway, or the one that they changed 50 million times on the West End? Sorry, I'm being sassy. Now, there's a couple of interesting things to take from this announcement. The first thing to note is that we are most certainly getting a brand new cast for this show, most certainly made up of American actors, which really must feel awful for everyone who was lined up to take over from the first West End cast. The second is the choice of theatre. Obviously, this opened at the Gillian Lynn, and during the show, they used the mechanics of the theatre to turn the show into the round for a part of the performance. The Imperial Theatre is known for its production of Natasha Peer and the Great Comet of 1812, which completely changed and reshaped the theatre. So I think it's quite clear that we could expect something similar to happen with this show. And for them to really play around with the space, similar to how they did in the West End. And the third most interesting thing about this is the timing. The show will open on February 17th, the day before Phantom of the Opera is due to close on Broadway. This means that Angelo Weber will get to keep his title of having one of his musicals perform on Broadway since September 1979. I think we could chalk this up to not being much of a coincidence. And with this announcement, we got a brand new recording of the song Bad Cinderella, which we can now actually say is the title song of the show. This version of the song features a lot of lyric changes, and I'm going to walk you through some of them now. Obviously, I don't want to get demonetized, so I'm going to have to sing some of these. Just go with it, it's fine. The first change, and probably the weirdest change in the entire song, is this. In the West End version, it goes, Bad Cinderella is the catty name that they call me. The Broadway version now goes, Bad Cinderella is the snarky name that they call me. Well done, you were thick Cinderella. I don't get this change. It's such a small line. I don't know if it's more of a regional thing. So any Americans in the audience, are you familiar with the term catty? Is it more of a British thing? I didn't think it was, but apparently it's enough that they're going to change it for Broadway. So let's find out, Americans. Let me know in the comments down below. A lot of the verses have been changed. Girl from the gutter, unpleasant peasant, no one a nutter, unwelcome present, which just feels like words that they're throwing out of anywhere. The Broadway version of that's a little bit tighter. Goes, taunt me and tease me, that won't upset me. If you think I will care, have you met me? And I think there's definitely a certain proudness to the Broadway version now. Compare the chorus to Bad Cinderella to the Broadway version. West End goes, call me Bad Cinderella, nasty girl, got a rose. Your unkindness doesn't shock me. Compared to Broadway, I am Bad Cinderella, flying high in the sky, and from here I look down on you. The West End version feels like it's focusing a lot more on the other people. It's kind of focusing a lot more on the taunts that are used towards her. However, in this version, it's kind of more claiming it, I guess. Look at Call Me Bad Cinderella versus I Am Cinderella, or Bad Cinderella. You are Bad Cinderella, let me just say that. But what's the most interesting thing is that the West End version has a lot of different choruses. Obviously that's the first one. The second one, I am me Cinderella, I've a style of my own, and I will not change it for you. Versus the Broadway, which just repeats that same thing. I'm Bad Cinderella, flying high in the sky, and from here I look down on you. Call me Bad Cinderella, I kiss you goodbye. It just repeats that over and over again, which kind of leans into more of a poppy element, I guess. I mean, we started to see a trend in musical theatre of repetitive choruses. Look at something like Candy Store from Heathers, or Waving Through a Window from Dear Evan Hansen. It feels a little bit more commercialised, I guess. And don't worry, is my least favourite line still in here? Yes, it is! It is slightly changed. The West End version goes, and I hope I have upset you, well forget you. The Broadway one goes, and in case I have upset you, well forget you. I don't like that lyric. It's a very messy lyric. I see you driving around town with the Cinderella I love, and I'm like, forget you. Structurally and musically, the song is exactly the same. The beats are exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is the lyrics. And are they more effective? I mean, not really. I like how they've kind of reframed it so it's a little bit more proud, but I still don't feel anything, and I still don't feel like this song takes me in much of a journey. By changing these choruses, I feel like what you actually lose from the original song is that sense of her throughout it kind of reclaiming this. It feels like in this version she kind of reclaims it a little bit too early. I appreciate them looking back at this and trying to give it a little bit more focus, I guess. Because, I mean, it does feel more focused, but I feel like there's less of a journey, and I don't like this show. I really don't like this show. But the big question to ask is, what is this going to be like on Broadway? Because Broadway is a lot less forgiving than the West End, I will say. On the West End, if you open a show, it's pretty likely you're going to have a full year's run. Broadway closings are so quick and fast. If something doesn't work, they chuck it away immediately. If you don't win at the Tonys, you're done for. You have shows that last about 2 months or so. And I don't know if Angela Webber's Cinderella has the stamina to make it through. It's also shadowed by a terrible production history, a lot of controversies, and I don't think changing the name from Cinderella to Bad Cinderella is enough to justify it or to change its perception so much in the mind of theatre fans. Maybe a more general theatre-going audience will forgive it, but there's going to be a lot of people who remember what went down in the West End, all the problems, and Angelo Webber himself saying the show was a costly mistake. People will remember this, and I don't know how much that's going to affect its box office sales or affect its perception on Broadway. And obviously, right now, we don't know how much of the show is changing. Of course, they've changed a lot about the opening number, and they've said that they're going to add new songs, but the book needs serious retooling and reshaping, and there's a lot more than just the lyrics that need to change with Cinderella. For that, we're just going to have to wait. But what are your thoughts? Are you excited to see Cinderella back? Are you cautious about Cinderella like me? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribing. It really helps me out and helps out the channel. But that's it for me today, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye!